Hello, and thank you for joining us tonight for our first free webinar of 2021. For any of you joining us tonight for the first time, I'd like to welcome you, and for anyone joining us again, welcome back. We are excited about tonight's webinar, Wei Qi and Immune Support, featuring John Scott, the president and founder of Golden Flower Chinese Herbs. My name is Jeff Bloom, Education Marketing Manager here at LASA OMS. For over 40 years, LASA OMS has been striving to promote the growth of the acupuncture industry by providing quality products, great prices, and the best customer service, as well as supporting the many schools and continuing education efforts available. With our free webinar series, we intend to provide free educational opportunities taught by some of our industry's most renowned practitioners and educators. I would like to take a moment to acclimate you to the webinar room. To the right of the video screen, you will see 3 tabs: Chat, Questions, and Polls. To chat with other attendees or to communicate any technical difficulties, please use the Chat tab. For questions of the guest speaker, please use the Questions tab to assure that we see it at the end of the lecture. And tonight, we also posted a few poll questions and would really appreciate if you take a second to answer those. Please note that each webinar is recorded, and immediately following the conclusion, you will all receive an email with a link to view the video on demand and a copy of the slides. You may always visit our blog and use the free webinar tag to find all of our previously recorded events. From Chinese herbs to sports acupuncture to practice management, you'll find something interesting for every practitioner on the LASA OMS blog. Now for our featured speaker. We are proud to introduce John Scott. John is a doctor of Oriental medicine, currently in practice in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and has been in private practice since 1982. He is also the founder and president of Golden Flower Chinese Herbs. John has been active in promoting Oriental medicine on a local, state, national, and international level throughout his career. He has taught classes in the field and has been active in research. His particular passion for Chinese herbal medicine has guided his writing and teaching. Please join me in welcoming John Scott.
And thank you for joining us this evening. And let's go ahead and get started talking about Wei Qi, immune support, and let's go ahead and start with our slides. Let's see. Yes, Wei Qi immune support. Currently, there is a strong interest in supporting immune function. To many in the West, there seems to be a perception of immune function being something extra special from normal body functions. To be clear, the relationship between Wei Qi, Yang Qi, Yin essence is an interdependent relationship. We cannot separate immune function from good overall health. Let us review some fundamentals of Qi and how it relates to immune function. Well, let's start with yin and yang. Yin and yang polarity. We're all familiar with the phenomenon of yin and yang and how this polarity is the root of everything in our cosmos. Consider how our human existence is reflection of the microcosm versus the macrocosm. Let us look at the various aspects of Qi in our body and how it functions. Source Qi and acquired Qi. First, there is the original or Yuan Qi. We are going to be reviewing some of these things, well, all of these things, to go back to the basics and we're going to be doing some reviewing here, but it fits in well with the topic. Each organ has its own Qi, which expresses itself through the basic constitution of the organs. Digestive Qi, or Gu Qi, from the transformative power and function of the spleen. This is part of acquired Qi, cosmic or heavenly Qi from the air drawn into the lungs. That's that. We also know the 3 treasures that are Jing, Qi, and Shen. Jing refers to the essence that is stored in the lower Dan Chen, originating from the kidney. Qi is the product of the digestive transformative function of the spleen combined with the heavenly Qi from the air brought into the lungs. Shen is considered the spirit that animates us, coming from the area of Ren 17, Dan Zhang, and shining from the eyes. Wei, or defensive Qi. There is also Wei Qi, or defensive Qi. It flows outside of the vessels and meridians. It keeps the body warm. On the exterior, it flows between the skin and the flesh to protect from invasion of exogenous pathogens. This may be referred to as the primary immune system. However, it is more interconnected than that. George Soleon Morant, Chinese Acupuncture, that's the textbook, comes from Paradigm Press. The Wei Qi is the superficial energy. It governs the exterior. It is the life of liquids and food. It does not enter into the vessels, but stays in the epidermis, the dermis, the muscles, and the mucous membranes. It spreads over the chest and the abdomen. When the Wei is irritated, illness results. And these quotes are from the Systemic Classic of Acupuncture and Moxibustion from chapter 11. The Yellow Emperor asked, how do humans receive qi? How do yin and yang meet? What qi is the constructive? What qi is the defensive? Where does defensive meet the constructive? Qibo answered, humans receive qi from grains. Grains enter the stomach, and qi is transported to the lungs. Thus, all 5 viscera and the 6 bowels receive the qi. The clear part is constructive, and the turbid is defensive. The constructive circulates within the vessels, and the defensive circulates outside the vessels. Okay, now according to the Neijing, the stomach provides the initial separation of pure and turbid. The small intestine further separates and refines the process. Gu Qi provides the power for this action. So we know that the small intestine is the great sorter. The stomach is the cauldron where this process is starting. The fluids are separated into jin, thin, ye, thick fluids. Each has a pure and impure turbid aspect. The pure jin fluids ascend to support and moisten the sensory orifices, while the impure, turbid, jin thin fluids are moved to the skin and the sinews to support the movement of Wei Qi. The pure ye, thick fluids, being heavier, descend and gathered in the kidney to support jing, but does not create jing. The triple warmer mechanism draws the pure ye fluids up with the jing through the Jiaji line, the line going along the spine, medial to the bladder channel, and distributes the jing and pure ye directly into the organs via the back shoe points. The impure ye, thick fluids are distributed to the curious organs because they have a role in holding things and maintaining latency. So basically, we have the pure essence is rising, the impure is sinking because it's heavy. We have things that are light, things that are heavy that are sinking. And the heavy stuff goes to the kidney, and where the jing is stored. And well, let's move on to the next slide. So we are aware of how essential functions contribute to the transformation of food in the various aspects of qi, the spleen and stomach being central in transformation, the small and large intestine being central in sorting the pure and the impure. I've had this observation about transformation, and the Yang Ming channels, which are the stomach and large intestine, are that yang aspect of transformation. So it takes the yang to transform to support essence, which is why I like to use Yang Ming points to support kidney essence, because of assisting in transformation. Let's see. interconnected, interdependent. Clearly, we see that what we call immune function in the West is dependent on various essential qi functions. Those that have original qi that is inherently inadequate or weak are starting off at a disadvantage. This disadvantage may adversely affect digestive power and respiratory function. Supporting healthy digestive function will assist the kidney by relieving some stress, where the kidney may be called in to back up qi when there's poor eating habits or irregular eating habits. It's a bit like running on our original battery when our fuel is low and exhausted. So you have folks that are drinking a lot of coffee and not eating right, maybe a lot of sugar and maybe sugar and cigarettes, and so they're they're basically running on their original Jing battery, and this will eventually will show the wear, and then we all pay for the consequences of our foolish years in our youth. So we know acupuncture is fabulous for regulating the flow of qi and blood, supporting her healthy circulation. And its herbal medicines actually support and supplement qi by bringing these botanical substances into our middle burner, spleen and stomach. We are supporting our qi and healthy immune function. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to talk about a few formulas here. Yu Ping Feng San. The name implies a screen inside a room used to protect against wind. And it has Wang Qi, Feng Feng, and Bai Zhu. A very elegant formula. Feng Feng is a botanical that releases the exterior and expels wind. It also stabilizes the exterior while not drying the lungs, which need to remain moist in order to govern the qi, and is combined with Wang Qi and Bai Zhu, which are qi supplementing herbs. It is used when there's a deficiency of the exterior with weak protective or weight defensive qi. Is designed to prevent pathogenic qi from entering the body. However, it will not disperse pathogenic qi that has already penetrated. This is the most commonly used Chinese herbal formula for strengthening Wei Qi. It's often combined with other botanicals for other indications. Now, classically, if you had a patient who tended to get sick very easily in the cold and flu season, you would have them use this formula for the season before the cold and flu season. So it's a considered kind of slow acting, and if you have somebody with weak Wei Qi, it is going to it'll take some time to beef that up, so to speak. Okay, let's see our next slide. Oh, this print is smaller than I remember. I wonder if I can make this bigger on this slide. Can I make this slide bigger, Jeffrey? Okay, let's see. Well, nope, that didn't do it. All right. Jeffrey, can this slide be made bigger on my screen?
Unfortunately, it cannot. I apologize.
Okay, let's see. All right, then I will have to kind of wing this. Now, this formula was a formula that I designed back when AIDS and HIV were running through our community. And so this formula works on a much deeper level. And this is based on Fujian therapy, which was developed in China to help patients survive the therapy when they were treated, for cancer. And it was actually some material that I got from the ACTCM, American College of Traditional Chinese Medicine, which describe very specific immune-enhancing effects of all these particular botanicals. And what we saw with this particular patient base is that they would be often prone to loose stools and diarrhea. And of course, the kidney essence was challenged. And so there's botanicals in there. The Wang Qi, the Zheng Qi are working with, the Wang Qi, of course, is a qi herb, and the Zheng Qi is a yin herb. So it works with qi and yin. And the Danshan, Baixao, and Linger, to a certain extent, are working with supporting blood. And people that have immune compromise are going to naturally have needing some blood supporting support there. Of course, the Baiju with the Wang Qi and of course the Gansao are going to be supporting the spleen and digestive function. We have the Nugency works with yin essence. The Chuan Shen, a lot of times folks that are having, if they're dealing with cancer, they're dealing with immune compromise, or this is also a very appropriate formula with chronic viral symptoms to support immune function. So the Chuan Shen is going to prevent excess heat buildup from tonic herbs that can cause a lot of heat to build up. And the Rugwei anchors the yang. It anchors the fire in the Danchen. So it really works well with this strategy. Back in the 80s, there were companies and people designing immune support formulas, and they didn't typically include qi regulators. So we added the Chen Pi because they would say, oh, take this for 2 weeks and then take 2 weeks off. And so, if we add Chen Pi as a qi regulator, then we wouldn't have to, that wouldn't be an issue. So this formula for working with immune support is working on a deeper level than Wei Qi by supporting the spleen, supporting the kidney, and also nourishing blood. Let's move on. Yeah. We also have a formula called 5 mushroom formula, Wugong Feng. Mushrooms have been used for their healing properties in Asia for thousands of years. In recent years, Japan and China conducted extensive research on the medicinal properties of mushrooms. Scientists are particularly focused on the polysaccharides, high molecular weight complex sugars, more specifically the beta glucans and their immune enhancing qualities. For this formula, 5 mushrooms were chosen that contain high levels of beta glucans because of 2 specific properties that are common to each of them. All 5 of these mushrooms provide hepatic support, case of hepatitis, chronic or acute, as well as supporting the immune system by helping the body to produce more natural killer cells, which play a major support in the rejection of tumors. In addition to the above-mentioned properties, these mushrooms have other beneficial functions. So we got Agaricus subruficinus. Let's see. Eases, promotes digestion, fortifies bones, regulates blood pressure, blood glucose level, Tremites, I don't hardly say these names, very versicolor, treats infection or inflammation of the upper respiratory, urinary, digestive tracts, clears dampness, reduces phlegm. Ganoderma reishi is one of the more famous ones. Calms the spirit, nourishes qi and blood, stops cough, alleviates wheezing, dispels phlegm, helps to regulate blood glucose levels, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, anti-hypertensive. Maitake, Grifola, frondosa. I could pronounce that in a way, make it sound like a different language. But anyway, antiviral, antibacterial, supports the immune system, especially for preventing helper T cells from being destroyed, promotes weight loss, regulates blood glucose levels, reduces hyperlipidemia, aids in treatment of hypertension. And then Corydalis, Dongchang Shai Cao. Now this is the vegan version. It's the cultivated version, and not the actually winter worm, but this is more sustainable. Supports the kidney and Jing, supplements Yang, supplements Lung Yin, transforms phlegm, stops bleeding, regulates glucose levels. This formula has been in clinical use long enough to have determined that it works on a deeper level than Wei defense and supports immune function on the blood level. So being a really wonderful immune support, again, this one works even deeper than the Astragalus ligustrum because it's working on a blood level more fundamentally. And so one of the things I wanted to kind of points I'd like to make is that a lot of folks are looking for like a silver bullet or one size fits all. And Yuping Feng Song is considered to be that, but there are other options depending on the patient and the person. I talked to a friend who was doing some traveling, and I said, well, I think this other formula would be more appropriate for you. Let's see. Oh, Zheng Qi support. You know, this slide, when it was bigger, it was bigger when it was on my screen. And when springtime, summer last year, when we were being confronted by some particular viruses, we were developing strategies and looking at the four stages of treatment of prevention and early pneumonia recovery. And this was a formula that we developed. And so we know that Wei Qi there's the components of Yang, Wei, and Jin, which is thin fluids. You know, so we have these components of Wei Qi coming from the Zheng Qi. So this formula can be used as a preventive or recovery for illness. So it's got the Wang Qi, which we're familiar with, and the Shanya, which is a formula, a botanical use for supporting essence. Gauguin is working with the that Wei level, the interstices. Gansao, the harmonizer. Wu Beizi works with phlegm, and actually this is on the list of botanicals that have been useful with coronaviruses. Of course, this is not a antiviral, as we might say. And then Shiyang Shen, which is really a great one for lung qi and moistening the lungs. Shiyang Shen was used in the 18th century in China for a tuberculosis epidemic. It was our first trade relationship with China had 30 tons of American ginseng that left the port of Baltimore, went to China. It was enough ginseng to depress the market, the prices for it when it got to China. There was a priest in Canada who had been to Asia and saw what he thought was ginseng, and he sent a sample to China and asked if this was something they were interested in, and they said, yes, send us as much as you can possibly gather. So, Daniel Boone was a ginseng trader. And then, of course, there's the cordyceps, which is supporting the yang, and jerka as a qi regulator. So we're supporting qi, we're supporting yang, we're moistening the lungs, and we're supporting essence. So this is going to support Wei Qi, but this is also going to be deeper than that because of how it supports yang and essence. Okay, all right. Let's see, what do we got now? Oh, yes, Jade Defense Plus. Now this is a modification of Yuping Feng Song. And you probably all heard about, this is basically a slight modification of a formula that was used in Hong Kong during the SARS epidemic, 2002-2003, where it's combining Yuping Feng Song with Yin Chao San. So besides supporting the Wei Qi and with the Wang Qi and the Baiju, Qi, the Yin Chao also expels wind heat, toxins, cools the lungs. So, and we used Yuxing Sao instead of Jin Yinhua. And the Yuxing Sao has a strong action to clear heat, relieve toxin, and it disperses phlegm heat that blocks the lung, prevents swelling in the lung tissue. So it's a really wonderful herb, botanical, Yuxing Sao, for lung toxic heat. And it's also one of those botanicals that John Chen mentioned in March that has been found to be good when there is certain viruses going around. So this combines that kind of, the Wei Qi of Yuping Feng Song, supporting that with also expelling exogenous pathogens from the Yin Chao San strategy. So it does have the supported aspect and expelling wind heat, stabilizing the exterior aspect. Okay, let's see. I shouldn't have put as much on the slide to make the print so small. But you live and you learn. Let's see what we got. Oh yeah, ginseng endurance formula. Now this we included in this talk because this is a formula that was designed to enhance athletic performance improve stamina, but we included it because these botanicals are considered adaptogens, which helps the body to cope with stress and assist to resisting exogenous pathogens. Most of the herbs in the formula, in addition to their Chinese medical actions, are also classified by modern pharmacology as adaptogens. Yeah, so adaptogens decrease the pathophysiological effects of physical and emotional stress that can have upon the body, and facilitating the body's return to homeostasis. Collectively, the substances in this formula increase blood oxygen availability, increase breathing capacity, increase stamina, reduce the volume of toxic metabolic byproducts from stress to the muscles, and more. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, so here's a little rundown on some of these ingredients. So eleuthero is probably the most thoroughly studied of all adaptogen substances. It used to be called Siberian ginseng, and there was a lot of research done in Russia, Soviet Union, I guess that was in the early 2000s in the agricultural bill. The senator from Wisconsin was able to put a provision that made it illegal to call eleuthero Siberian ginseng because it would confuse people in the marketplace. So this is a really a wonderful adaptogen that one can take daily. It's not so warming as Renshen, where we think of Shiyang as more cooling and moistening. This is more neutral. And then, of course, Renshen and Baiju Gansao supplement the qi, increase the production of body fluids to help compensate for electro loss. Wu Wei Qi Skichandra is very renowned as an adaptogen, supports lung and heart function, retains the essence. It's an astringent seed, the 5-flavor seed. Then Hongjinqin rhodiola is also a very famous adaptogen. It's known to invigorate the blood and get more oxygen in the brain and in the increased arterial oxygen. And Dongui, we just included that because it supplements and invigorates blood, which is important for performance, in a sense. And of course, Lingzhi is a mushroom that supplements blood and vital qi, very famous fungus for us, fungus among us. And then cordyceps, a very famous yang tonic used by Olympic athletes, enhanced performance. The Chinese athletes in particular were known to use the cordyceps. Let's see. And again, this is the mycelium, the vegan version. There's reports of it being over harvested or over gathered, in the parts, near Tibet, up in those mountain areas where it's found in the wild. Let's see here. What do we got next? Yeah. On our website, we've got a number of papers and monographs. There's one called the Kidney School of Thought, going into the theories and thoughts of the kidney school, and in different periods throughout the history of Chinese medicine. From Shan Hun Lunan, there's different famous masters whose focus was in particular areas. And then there's another paper, School of Replenishing the Stomach and the Spleen. So, when we're thinking of Wei Qi, we're talking about, general health. And our acquired chi, our essence. It all comes down to the kidney and the spleen, and how important they are to each other. Yeah, I've known people who had weak constitutions. My best friend was born the smallest baby born in Houston. He was born like 1 pound 15 ounces. So his Jing was not good, but he had Shem that kept him going for over 50 years. So you have some folks that have really good chi, but they waste it away, and you have people that have really exceptional Shem that carries them through. But if we don't take care of our transformative powers, and because our transformative powers, we're also transforming the media we take in, the words, the images that we're exposed to. So the spleen, the stomach, it's more than just the food. It's the things that we put into our consciousness and put into our minds. Because it takes that chi to transform those things into something useful. Thich Nhat Hanh talked about our transforming our compost into a beautiful flower. So those chi functions are so essential. So I guess I wanted to kind of remind us all about those basics when we're talking about immune function. And what we're hearing and seeing is that the folks that are ill, that this particular viral challenge has a lot to do with dampness and inflammation, and of course, dampness is all about. It has to do with the function of the spleen and able to transform those things that may be difficult, that are in our systems accumulating. Do we have any questions or chats or conversations about this topic? I'd like to make this interactive, I think, at this point.
Hi, John.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Thank you so much for that. We actually do have a question here from Jamie. It looks like she would like to know if you have any thoughts on ginseng endurance formula being used to influence HPA axis and or subclinical hypothyroidism, mildly elevated TSH, and normal T4 and T3.
Let's see if I can assimilate all that question. Basically, the kidney system is the root of the whole endocrine system, and with the thyroid is a young regulator, right? So the kidney chi is really essential for proper thyroid function. And let's see if I can bring this around. So, because I know we've all seen people that were saying, okay, they have all these symptoms, so you're given thyroid medication. All right, well, and then there's not really any change. And my thought is that the change hasn't happened because the kidney hasn't been addressed. Jamie, does that make sense? Now, of course, the ginseng endurance, because of the young substances, are also going to support, well, of course, the cordyceps is young. The eleuthero is going to be supportive. but it wouldn't be my first thought. If you want an adaptogenic type of formula that is going to be a more global, it could possibly do as you're looking for, but it wouldn't be my first. Without knowing more about the kind of pattern presentations that you're seeing, it may not be. Probably wouldn't be my first thought. Let me put it like that.
Right.
Jamie, does that make sense?
So Jamie, feel free to put in the chat if you have any follow-up questions for John. I do see a question here from Julie that we can answer in the meantime. Julie would like to know how to treat people living in moldy environments that exhibit allergy-type symptoms. I'm thinking the strategy involves an herbal approach that goes to a deeper level.
Wow. Mold is really complicated to treat, and it's actually a bit beyond my scope of expertise. I do have some acupuncturist friends, Will Mitchell and Marlene Merritt, who have special certification and training in working with patients that have mold challenges. I'm thinking there's an internal environment that needs to be worked with, and then there's the external environment that has to be addressed. If somebody's living in a home, in an environment that is mold infested. My daughter was living in Key West in this horribly mold infested apartment. Because the environment was so damp anyway that it was a constant drag on her energy. And luckily, she's not there anymore. But yeah, you have to do. You're gonna have to. Yes, that's. I don't. That's kind of beyond my expertise, regretfully so. But thanks for the question.
That's okay. And then is Will Mitchell? Is he in Austin, Texas?
They have a place in Austin, and they have a place in Santa Fe.
Okay, because I see the functional medicine, or the Institute for Functional Medicine.
Him and his partner Marlene are both trained in functional medicine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So maybe do a little look into Will Mitchell here.
Yeah, and he has the specific training and expertise in working with patients who are dealing with mold infestation.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then we do have the next question is from Andrea. If stomach and spleen efficiencies, or qi, are diminished, how can adaptogens ever work?
This particular formula does have the Wang Qi and Baiju, Fuling, Gansao, which are the four ingredients from the primary Qi tonic, the four noble ingredients. So that's the start of it. That's the basis. So that formula does contain the four noble ingredients as the classics say. So, but yeah, so that is covered in that particular formula. That's a good question.
Right. The next question is from Janet. And what is the Chinese medicine concept of treating elevating levels of Epstein-Barr virus? Because that's we call that a latent pathogenic factor, because it's, the Epstein-Barr it likes to beat up on the spleen, that is, I would use combining things like Sao Chai Hu Tong with things like Viola Clear Fire, and things that are, there's certain botanicals that are particularly useful with that varicella type of family viruses. Bonlingen and is one of those, but
yeah, so combining something like Sao Chai Hu Tong, which works with latent pathogens. There's also like Sanren Tong or Sanren San. Yeah, so looking at things that work with latent pathogenic factors, and also immune support too. And that's what I've done that before, is combining. To kind of back up, in the thinking of the Astragalus ligustrum at that time, there was some folks that were combining antivirals, antimicrobials with immune support. And so I said, well, sometimes you need to kind of lean into one strategy more than the other. So our Viola Clear Fire is a formula that is kind of a broad spectrum antimicrobial, because it has botanicals like Bawa Shishisao, Yushing Sao, Da Jingye, Banlin Gao, and Chuan Lianshin, Andrographis, which has become very popular now, Jinyanhua, Shi Ku Cao, Lian Chao, and Huang Liang. So what my thinking there was that, okay, sometimes you want to lean into the antimicrobial strategy, and then sometimes you want to lean into more immune support or Qi support. Because sometimes you want to clear heat, toxin, and sometimes if you do too much heat clearing, it's going to be hard on the spleen. You're going to have too much cold in the system. They're going to have loose stools and diarrhea. So you want to go, okay, we're steering this vehicle. Okay, we want to stay between those things that make the noise on the right side of the road and the things in the bumps in the middle. All right, okay, we want to put clear heat. Okay, we want to supplement. We want to support Qi and the immune system and clear heat toxin. Does that make sense?
I would assume so.
I'm asking Janet, but so with latent pathogens, you can do a similar thing in that working with formulas that work with latent pathogens. And a lot of those types of formulas, you want to work with formulas that sometimes those latencies will hang out where there's phlegm, so that's where the Sanren Tong is really useful. But those are really difficult because you have layers of things going on. You have somebody who probably works 7 days a week, maybe has a family and under a lot of stress, and maybe is not eating very thoughtfully because they're so stressed and because they're so harried. So having to work with some lifestyle changes and going through kind of the layers of treatment strategies.
All right. And if you're okay with taking a few more questions, we have a few more here.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Next one is from Jose. Do the other formulas mentioned prior play a supportive role like Wei Qi when used with Yuping Feng San? What would be the difference in approach using formulas together to support immunity, if any?
Okay. Wei Qi. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Wei Qi is such a wonderful formula, and it's so underutilized. And so as Ted, it was a Ted Kapchik lecture on cinnamon twig that I saw in '91 that totally turned me on to Wei Qi. If you have chills, you have sweating, Wei Qi is the formula of choice. Well, and with Wei Tong, how it adjusts the yin and the wei, and how that regulates and solidifies things, the qi at that level of the skin, of how things penetrate or are denied entry into our energy sphere is so important. So of course, Wei Tong is going to be beneficial for immune response. But at that time when there's sweating and chills, there's already that struggle going on. But yeah, that would, if somebody has that presentation, yes, Wei Tong is going to support the immune response. And as far as combining with other formulas, I would do that to kind of solidify that layer of the skin of the wei with the Wei Tong before doing anything else. Because if you're doing some really intense cold bitter herbs and somebody is sweating and they're feeling like they're in a refrigerator, you're going to set them back, because there's that impulse. People go, oh, you're catching a cold. Here, take some ganmaling, take some yin chao. And so often I'll be talking to someone and then, then finally it'll come out, oh, they have sweats and they feel cold and they're chilled. No, don't do the yin chao, the ganmaling, do the Wei Tong. So I guess the short answer is yes, the Wei Tong and that pattern presentation is definitely going to help their immune response.
All right. Next question is from Ava. Wouldn't the approach to a Western diagnosed virus be dependent on how the patient is presenting in a Chinese diagnostic pattern?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely, because we get these diagnoses of these particular viral syndromes or invasions, and Chinese medicine is so elegant, and that this person maybe they're diagnosed with this particular virus, but in Wenbing and Shanhunlun, if we have to do the pattern differentiation and not to take shortcuts. And, and in this time when a lot of times we're not able to look at a tongue or feel a pulse, it becomes so easy to leap to conclusions. I was speaking with a dear friend and neighbor, and they'd been feeling poorly for 2 weeks. I'm looking at my calendar, and they were wanting to take John Gonling, and they said, no. Now it's Sao Chai Hu Tong time, because now you're having it's way after the initial stage. You can't do initial stage things after the initial stage is passed. Okay, I think I answered that question.
Alrighty. Well, if that person has a follow-up question, please feel free.
Absolutely.
Next question is from Brian. I thought that tonifying when there is a pathogen would serve to feed the pathogens. And then let's see. Looks like differently to what you were saying about strengthening immune system when there is a microbial invasion.
Well, that is, the general rule of thumb is that when there's an exogenous pathogen, you don't want to tonify. But if you're looking at something like Sao Chai Hu Tong, when something has penetrated to a Xiaoyang middle level, it does use Ren Shen or Dan Shen in that formula to have some qi to help expel the pathogen. So you have acute exogenous invasion, you don't want to use tonifying formulas. But if you have a a chronic latent pathogen like Epstein-Barr, there's going to be times you're going to want to tonify the system. Now, when we were talking about these immune system formulas like the astragalus ligustrum and the Zheng Qi formula, we are using these as preventative formulas, because then we have early stage formulas. There's the Renshin Baidu San, there's Sao Chai Hu Tong, there's the Chai Hu Guidra Tong, so at that stage, early stage, you're using these other kinds of harmonizing formulas. So we're talking about, prevention, immune support, and Wei Qi, so that there is some vitality to deal with a pathogen. Let's see, I may have gone around in a mental circle there. Because that's a general rule that you want to expel the pathogen. Like if I'm treating somebody, with acupuncture, and I'm using points to, like Hoku, Lung 7, triple Wilmer 5, and gallbladder 20, things to release wind invasion, I will come back after those points and then do something like stomach 36 and kidney 7 to okay, here's some qi to help push it out. Yeah, so I hope I just didn't go around in a mental spiral there, but that's the thing about Chinese medicine, is that there's some general kind of rules, and then there's these cases like, oh boy, okay, this person has been sick for a long time, and we need to boost qi, and sometimes it's just with acupuncture and moxibustion too, and not using like in our astragalus ligustrum, we did not include Renshin. We just had Wang Qi, and that's why we have Wang Qi is kind of, it's an uplifting botanical. A Wang Qi and Sheng Ma and Chai Hu, are substances that uplift qi. That's why they're in Buzhang Yishitong. And so it's like the Wang Qi is supporting the middle burner function, but it's also helping with up at the at that upper level, going to the Wei and the upper parts. Any more questions?
We have a few more if you're cool with taking them.
I'm game.
Right, thank you. This one might be a slight bit off topic, but do you have any suggestions for formulas to treat hypotension?
Oh my gosh. Hypotension.
Hypo.
It depends. As it depends, it's and hypotension, gosh, is a lot easier, because you're using something Buzhang Yishitong, using kidney tonics, using spleen tonics. Buzhang Yishitong, you're bringing up the qi. And we're doctors are much happier with someone that has low blood pressure than high blood pressure. They just feel tired, or they feel hypodynamic, so good qi tonics to bring up their qi. Yeah.
Righty, and then next question. Please tell me which formula you would recommend for somebody who wants to wean off steroid inhalers for lung issues, the person with lung and kidney deficiency.
That is really, it's tricky, because of the damage, that the steroids can do to the kidney adrenal system. I'm probably thinking this person has asthma or difficulty breathing. We have a Linger lung formula that is good for asthma. So you're likely going to need something to support the lung and deal with the asthma in the pattern that was presented, and then to rehabilitate the kidney with something like Bai D1 or Liu Wei D1 to rehabilitate the kidneys from the steroid use, like Romania 6 or Romania 8, depending on the person. And Eleuthero with one of those formulas to support the kidneys. And then you want to address, okay, when they come off the steroids, they're going to have trouble with, with breathing. So a formula to support that lung qi, which there are many of them, and the buffet tong and buffet tong modifications are really good for that kind of application.
Alrighty, and actually it looks like we have a few people that may have a slight question about the new vaccination. So this one is, what is your thought on herbal immunity support in COVID-19 mRNA vaccination? If you have a reaction to the vaccine, would you suggest taking first stage herbs?
Wow, that is a good question. And I wish I knew, I wish I knew I had better information to respond to that. But, if you're having a reaction like you're having a initial stage of a flu, you could take one of those surface relieving formulas to ease the discomfort. But then are you pushing out? Now, my understanding is that these vaccines are different from other vaccines. I mean, it's not a live virus or a dead virus, as far as what I've been understanding, that these are different. What do they call them? RNA virus vaccines. So that is, if somebody is really, really uncomfortable, actually somebody sent me a video today of somebody having extreme convulsions after taking one of these vaccinations. And, I don't know how possible those kind of severe reactions are. I've known some acupuncturists locally who've gotten the vaccinations and only have a sore place in their arm where they got the shot. It's a good, are you expelling the virus of the vaccine when you take something that expels pathogens from your system? Actually, I don't know. I can't give an authoritative answer on that.
Alrighty.
But if there are other kind of strange symptoms, there are formulas that can address, strange symptoms that someone might have. Yeah, like diarrhea or something.
All right. Well, next question is not about the vaccine. It is about so allergic response to environmental pollen is not the same as external invasion, correct?
Right. Yeah, it's no, it's not the same as external invasion. It's more of how your adrenal response system is responding to an irritant. Because these are things that irritate our systems, and it's our body's response to an irritant. Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Alrighty. Let's go to the next question. What do you recommend to support the formation and stability of platelets with autoimmune-based thrombocytopenia?
Thrombocytopenia. So that's a lack of platelets. So those would be botanicals that support nourishing blood. Probably things like Siwu Tong or Wang Xiaodong. No, it's let's see. Wan Xiaodong has been used with that, and Siwutong combinations depending on the person. Yeah.
I think we have one more question left, unless somebody sneaks one in between. But Leonard would like to know, do you have any suggestions for hypothyroid people who cannot take or tolerate any qi tonifying herbs?
Really? How curious. And what happens when they take qi tonifying herbs? I mean, there are things like kelp. Kelp is wonderful for thyroid because of the iodine. Yeah, my question would be, what happens when they take qi tonifying herbs?
Let's see if Leonard wants to follow up with any more information there.
Yeah, because when I hear something like, I go, what's going on there? What happens when they take qi tonifying herbs, and why is that happening? Is it because of a lack of root qi that's going on, or is it I don't, what is going on there? Well, and I mean, we're talking about hypothyroid. There's a kidney yang. Oh no, was it talking? Yeah. There's now kidney yang herbs aren't always the qi herbs, like renshen and baiju and those kind of herbs. We're talking about shudi and the herbs that are in Liu Wei Diwan Wan or Bai Wei Diwan Wan. For Leonard, it's like, okay, what happens when they are taking qi tonics?
He said palpitations and headache.
Okay, yeah. So the qi isn't anchored. So the need. This person's going to need something to anchor the qi. Probably with something with some something with some minerals to anchor the qi. But something that fits in with the other constitutional and the other aspects of the pattern presentation. But I'm thinking something with some minerals to anchor the qi. Yeah.
Wow. I think that might actually be it for questions for today. So John, we cannot thank you enough for your incredible information and your time. Thank you to everybody for joining us tonight for our first webinar of 2021, the first of many. Actually, next week on Tuesday, we will be offering a webinar on, it's actually computer overuse syndrome and neck and shoulder tightness, which I think many of us have, me included. So please check the Lhasa OMS blog and your email for the registration link for that. John, thank you so much. And everybody check your email for a special promo code for Golden Flower Chinese herb products at Lhasa OMS. And we will see you all next time.
Jeffrey, one thing.
Yes, of course.
Since you brought that up. So in Chinese medicine, there's a thing called the 7 toils. So there's certain activities that have certain consequences. So the toil of looking, so we're looking at screens all the time, injures the blood. So people that are looking at screens all day need to do things to nourish the blood, and probably also some jua, some chrysanthemum tea, also to clear that heat that accumulates in the eyes. So all you folks that are looking at screens too much, do something to support blood, because their computer screens are sucking your blood right out of you.
Wow. I'm going to get some chrysanthemum tea tomorrow.
All right. On that note, thank you.
Thank you. Honestly, thank you, and have a great night, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.